Hello everyone, this is Dr. Ogruk. I'm going to talk about public goods and common resources. This is a review for chapter 11. This chapter is shorter than average. It's much more straightforward, a little less analytical, so you should find it a little less difficult. But it sets an important foundation for different types of goods and services. Moving forward, as an introduction, we consume some goods without paying. Examples include parks, national defense, which is a service, clean air, and water. We don't necessarily pay for this directly, and when goods have no prices, the market forces that normally allocate resources are absent. The private market may fail to provide the socially efficient quantity of such goods, and we tie back to chapter 1. One of the 10 principles is governments can sometimes improve market outcomes by promoting things like parks, national defense, clean air, and water. So, I want you to know two important characteristics of the goods that you need to consider for classifying the goods into 4 categories. The first one is excludability. A good is excludable if a person can be prevented from using. Excludable things include like tacos, wireless internet access. So when you think about excludability, think about whether you pay or not. If it's free, not excludable. If you pay, not free, then it's excludable. The reason is simple. If you pay, you can exclude people who don't pay for it. But if it's free, you can exclude nobody else. Rivalry in consumption. A good is rival in consumption if one person's use of it diminishes the amount left for others to use. For example, fish tacos. So let's say you have on a plate 6 fish tacos and then you eat 5 of them and 1 left. So as you see, your consumption diminishes for others. Rivalry in consumption, you can find many examples: fish tacos, jeans that you wear, t-shirts. Non-rival in consumption, MP3 players. So you listen an MP3 and then still somebody else can listen the same MP3. So based on these characteristics, we have 4 different types of goods. Private goods are both rival in consumption and excludable. So you pay to buy a private good like ice cream, and it's rival in consumption. When you eat ice cream, when you eat ice cream, you diminish the amount of ice cream. Club goods, on the other hand, you pay for them. Yes, it's not free, but they are not rival in consumption. Example, cable TV. For example, cable TV. So you pay for it, you become a member, like a membership, and then you consume, and when you consume, there's still the same amount to be consumed for others. When a good is free but rival in consumption, that is categorized as common resources. Example, fish in the ocean, the environment. Common resources are goods. Most of the common resources are the goods that nature provides to us, like fish in the ocean. It's free, you can go fishing, but if you overfish, then less fish in the ocean. And if a good is free plus not rival in consumption, then it's a public good. For example, national defense. National defense is for everyone, and also you cannot exclude anybody from not being protected by the army. So, this chapter focuses on public goods and common resources. Both are not excludable, that means they are both free. For public goods, people cannot be prevented from using it. For common resources, it's the same. And there is no price attached to it. That's why they are called as not excludable. So, I want to talk about road. We can categorize road in which of 4 types of goods that we have just learned. And the answer depends on whether the road is congested or not, and whether the road is toll or non-toll. So let's start. If a road is toll, you pay for it, and congested, then it is both excludable plus rivalry in consumption. Because you are on the road means there is restroom for others to get into the road. For that reason, this is a private good. Now let's talk about toll on congested road. This good is excludable because you pay for it, but it is non-rival in consumption. Since it's non-rival but excludable, it's a club good. Now we talk about non-toll road and congested. So it is not excludable but rival in consumption. Remember, if it's congested and rival in consumption but free, it is common resource. And now let's think about non-toll road and uncongested. It's not excludable plus non-rival, therefore it's a public good. Let's now delve into a little bit more public goods. Public goods are difficult for private markets to provide because of the free rider problem. So who's that free rider? Now, free rider is the person who receives the benefit of the good but avoids paying for it. So if a good is not excludable, people have the incentives to be free riders because firms cannot prevent non-payers from consuming the good. So the result is a good that is not produced, even if buyers collectively value the good higher than the cost of providing it. So textbook has a simple example. Has a simple example of fireworks where certain people can pitch in for fireworks. Yet some certain people know that they cannot pitch in and then they can sit back and watch the fireworks. So they are free riders. If a benefit of public good exceeds the cost of providing it, the government should provide the good and pay for it. So this is how we produce public goods. The government is going to distribute or spread the cost of a public good that has a benefit greater than the cost. So these costs are more uniformly distributed than one firm can do that for us. Because of the free rider problem, private firms do not want to produce. And government can remedy the problem. How? If we know that total benefits of public good is higher than its cost, government will provide the public good. So to pay for it, government is going to spread the cost by tax. So you're going to pay a tax, and that tax revenue is used to provide the public good. So therefore, everyone will be better off. Because we enjoy fireworks. We want it, there is a benefit to it. But no private firm wants to do it. But government can solve the problem by providing and financing it by tax revenue. So here we have one important problem. We say that for a public good, that benefit is greater than cost. For a public project, calculating the cost is not a big deal. If you need a traffic light at that intersection, if you need a traffic light at one intersection, you know that government can easily calculate the cost. Let's say the cost of building a new traffic light is 10,000. But how about benefit? How we can measure the benefit? Everybody has a different value for a public good. For private goods, it's easy. The price shows the value to a customer. But for public goods, it's free. So the value differs or varies between users. For that reason, calculation of benefit side is not easy. So government usually makes a decision on which public goods should be provided. But quantifying the benefits is not easy. So from the perspective of the people, sometimes people may think that the tax money is a waste. The reason is because although government spends the tax revenue on provision of the public goods, the value to a user may not be the same. The value to one user may not be the same to another. Okay, so we have the problem of cost-benefit analysis. And finally, we will talk about common resources. Common resources are not excludable and rival in consumption. So here, we don't need the government to provide the common resource. Common resources are there, but we have one problem: overuse of common resources. So we need government to control the overconsumption. And we can explain this concept by explaining the tragedy of commons. Let's say we are talking about a medieval town where sheep graze is the income on the common land. This is an old classical example of tragedy of commons. So this is the land and there are houses, and all these houses are grazing their sheep in this land and they earn income. As the population increases, number of sheep are also increasing. So there is a private incentive here. Families want to send their sheep because that's going to make their sheep more healthy. Plus they're going to earn more income if they have more sheep. But what happens at the end? They destroy all that common resource. After a while, there is less grass that has been before. And since the amount of land is fixed and the grass begins to disappear due to overgrazing, this outcome turns out to be harmful to all families because they lose their income. So the tragedy here is resulting from the overuse of land. This is the tragedy of common. So here in this case we need government, because government can provide some remedies. Government can solve the problem. There are different ways. One of them is regulation or taxes. Therefore, the tax or regulation will reduce the consumption of the common resource. Or government could action of permits allowing the use of land, so create grazing permits and then let the shepherds trade those permits among themselves. Or government can divide the land to the lots, into lots, and individual families essentially issue property rights, and each family had an incentive not to overgraze its own land. There would be a natural incentive to conserve and protect their lands, and then also keep other people's sheep of their lands, which prevents overgrazing, and also keep other people's sheep of their lands, which prevents overgrazing. So that's it for this chapter. I hope this review helps you to understand the material better.